I'd say leave it if somebody has an issue there.
All right. What is that? Yeah, let's get up.
Oh, snap. Snap. Yeah.
My dad would.
Oh, I know. Could be, it was on you to say it once.
Well, I just like the sign from it.
Yeah. I like it smaller so I can get it back. I can still on a keyboard, so it's great. Just an apple is trying. There. Back there. It's over 2020. So it's 5 years older now. Yeah. They might not even make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. We'll call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. This is the 2025 annual meeting of Gramercy Park. If you remember, we're here. I'm the president, Brad Jordan. Let's see here. Then first off, we want to do viewable.
I can't hear you, Brad.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
No. Okay. So,
Yes.
okay, so we will start with approval of the 2024 annual meeting minutes.
Here.
There's any modifications that need to be made, or we're good to make a motion to approve any corrections? Yeah.
What's it on? Was on board, so yeah.
Well, the meeting started at 7:30, not 7.
These were kept together for the free. We can defer and table this until the next meeting to approve. We good with that? We good with?
Fred, you're not understanding what you're saying. They didn't know if you were talking to them or not.
Okay,
Okay, so you might need to repeat what you said.
gotcha. So we're correcting for start time of 9:30.
7:30.
7:30, I'm sorry.
This is for last year, January.
This is for last year.
Yeah, you have to approve the minutes from last.
We have a motion.
Motion to approve is corrected.
We have a motion to approve.
As corrected.
As amended, yeah. Is there a second?
Second. Chris, second. I second.
Chris, second. So Dave
Yeah.
Danielson,
I'll just project.
Dave Danielson, makes the motion, Chris Hutchings seconds, all in favor, say aye.
I.
Opposed? No. Regarding the minutes, Mark.
Yeah.
All right, number 2. All right. Board member introductions. So we're so lucky to have the board members that we do. I'm lucky, you guys are lucky, we're all lucky. I've served on, this will be my 4th board of directors with different nonprofits, and this is without a doubt, the most talented and hardworking board I've ever seen. I've never, and I've served on boards that have had city councilmen, attorneys that would give their services for free, CPAs. These guys are better than that. Hardworking. Dave Danielson, our vice president. He's been with GPHA 4 years. He does common grounds, handles a lot of the vendors and so forth. Did all the river rock in front of the clubhouse all by himself. Crazy. He and Carla did put up the basketball goals all by themselves. And come over there, there's a pallet of concrete. They run a mixer, they put it all together themselves. It's like, well, let's not talk about it, let's do it. Just hard workers, amazing. Carla does property management for her full-time job for a corporation, and so she knows what she's doing. She does project management, and she does what don't you?
I don't like a profit card with prisons.
What she doesn't do is stop. That's what so she's been on board for 3 years. Then we have Patty, who's been with the board for 20. She handles clubhouse. Long time dedicated institution here at Gramercy Park. And the things that she does, the things you guys don't see behind the scenes, opening of the clubhouse, of the pool, 8 a.m. on a Saturday, here's Patty out there with a bucket of OxyClean scrubbing the furniture. Somebody has to do that. Those are things you don't see going on behind the scenes. Likewise, Dave Bradley, 30 years there with GPHA, while going through some of the old documents, moving them from one storage area to another. We've got meeting minutes going back 20, 30 years with Dave Bradley on the board as an advisor or signing off on this proposal. His institutional knowledge is unmatched by anybody that I know. He can tell you the history. He can tell you where the breaker boxes are. He just knows this place inside and out. His time on the board is invaluable, and he's, even though Chris will be taking over the at-large 2 position, I know and I hope that Dave is going to stay involved. Because, like I said, his institutional knowledge of the place is just invaluable. He knows where the blueprints are, where the bodies are buried. You know what to talk about. Just talk. And then you have Brad Greaves, and he's been here for 10 years. Brad has set up the maintenance work order system for us. He also a man of many talents: lighting, sewer, fountains, helping with the bylaws. This bylaw committee's been on for 6 years. He's helped more than anybody so far on the architecture committee. He's the one that, if the drain is clogged, he's the one that'll be sticking his head in the drain and figuring out what's going on. And you'll see some of that a little bit later. And then you have the Sutchings, newer to the board, but he's on here for a long time. One of the few residents that would come to every single meeting, more or less, always has insightful questions and also knowledge of real estate, being a realtor of the market. One of the other things he's brought to us, coming to the board, is knowledge of vendors. He has a good network of vendors that he's brought in and has saved us a ton of money right off the bat. The tree trimmer is one, for example, that came in. And I don't know how much would save in total, but I can tell you just personally, between me and my neighbor, we had she had a large cedar tree about 25 feet tall, and it had died, and I offered to split the cost to have it taken down. The first vendor, that we had been using is going to be a bucket truck for the $1,600. We're like, and Chris's tree trimming vendor came in. We paid $500 total and split it $250 a piece. How's that amazing? So great board, like I said, fantastic people. And then our new board member, Abbott. Let's see. Okay. And she sent me her bio, but can you tell us your background?
Sure. I'm loud enough to you probably don't need a speaker. I'm just loud. My background, I can stand. Sorry, I came from work. My background is a swim instructor and swim coach, so I know how to project. I've also been a para in a Blue Valley School District since 2016. I also have been able to train in lifeguards for the last decade. And so I'm very good at communicating with people and also in emergencies. I'm very good at it. Yes.
Could you pronounce your last name for me?
Sure. My last name is pronounced Elia Schuster. You may not look at it. It's L. Yeah. Char. Schuster.
I might have to try that a few times before I get it.
I'm not Miss E.
Okay, Miss E or Abigail.
They're fantastic hands, so.
Yes, sure.
Let's see. Yeah. And then let's see, there's what's that? Yeah. And then there's me, Brad. I got into Homes Association back 20, 30 years ago when I lived over at Oak Park. Little HOA, 2,700 homes. And I got involved with them basically because I started out as a new homeowner and I saw something that I didn't like that frustrated me. And I came to the board and wanted to share those feelings about what I thought wasn't right and what needed change. But I tried to approach it with, not combative, but say, hey, this is the situation. And the president said, that's great information. Thank you for bringing that to us. How would you like to help get that fixed, get involved, help? And that's how I got in. And I've learned through the two other HOAs that I've served on that's kind of how a good HOA works is, if you have a complaint, if you have a problem, be sure to bring that to our attention, but also do your best to help us with a solution, because it takes everybody. And so that's kind of been my introduction to HOAs and why I've approached things. So moving on. Let's see. And then we have Carla. So the election results. Carla won District 3. She was formerly serving in 4. She ran unopposed. Abigail ran unopposed for District 4. Chris Hutchings won the at-large 2 spot, and those terms will run from 2026 to 2028. We recently had a town hall meeting about steadfast Overland Park program for public safety. What's Griffin things up, talk to the board, and then came again for the town hall synopsis. We're going to have him speak today, but we felt we'd be short on time, so we'll do quick synopsis, and there will be a follow-up town hall, as this is going to be an ongoing relationship with him. But the good news is, I mean, our crime rate here is next to nothing. We live in a very safe neighborhood. I know there have been some concerns about this and that. Wes encourages everybody to, you know, if anything seems strange or out of place, give them a call. That's what they're there for. And so I was encouraging people to call the non-emergency numbers. Like, no, call 911. You know, it doesn't matter. We're here. He came and talked to us with 2 other officers that are with the Antioch division. You know, so they're nice and close, and they want to have a relationship with us, get to know us, you know, let them know what our concerns are. And I've printed this out that gives you information and direction on how to find out about crime that's going on. They have some great online tools, in Crime Map. You can file a report online. And then other services that the police department offer. I think one of the things that I'd like to see improve is, in the past, we've encouraged folks to contact the office, contact Shelley when there's vandalism, in trouble with this, that, and the other. And it's great for us to know about it. However, the police comes first. We don't have the capacity to act as law enforcement. We have very limited authority over resident behavior. It's just not something that falls under our purview, nor should we get involved with it. We pay our taxes, that police are there for. You can file a report online. A lot of folks in our survey of residents, a lot of our folks were hesitant to report, which is a problem. So, you know, they feel that they don't want to report their neighbor or somebody that they're going to escalate a situation. But, you know, if there's an issue and you're not reporting it, you are part of the problem. So, highly encourage everyone to do what they need to do to make sure we live in a safe environment, and the police know what they should, you know, to help keep us safe. So this has been a transition year for us. We've had change in leadership a little bit. And so we are kind of doing a reprioritization, realigning of our core responsibilities, trying to focus on just business basics. trying to stick to what we're required to do and moving away from the services that are outside of our jurisdiction, outside of our duties. In talking with Shelley and some of my own experience, we have residents and oftentimes there's a small minority of residents that are tying up her time, tying up our time with things that we really don't have control over in terms of, my neighbors too loud, or I don't know who these people are parking in this spot, et cetera, et cetera. What she and I call it is noise. There's a lot of noise it distracts us from doing the more important things like fixing lights, fixing sewers, and we want to economize our time. So we're trying to refocus on just the core things that we're supposed to be doing, that your promise that we'll do in your declarations and the deed restrictions and that the bylaws promise you that we'll do. And staying away from the stuff that detracts us from our core responsibilities. Yeah. So, who is Gramercy Park? What is a homes association? Why are we here? And this is kind of give some little understanding or backing as to what our core functions are. As an organization, we are a corporation, a nonprofit corporation. We are a business. We must function by business by law. And the board, like with any corporation, the board is acting on your behalf to run the corporation. In essence, you guys are the shareholders, we are the board. But ultimately, you guys are the owners, or we are the owners collectively. From a legal standpoint, if you look at Kansas law, it says that the association is defined legally as the owners. You are the association. Boards, not the boards. You are the association. The board is not the association. The board is representing and acting on your behalf. So, and ultimately, and also the hierarchy of powers is owners are at the top, board of directors are next, and board of directors are peers. The president is not the final word. The powers are, there's separation of powers, just like with city council. And so my vote is no more powerful than any of these guys' vote. If the president wants to do something and the rest of the board says, no, we're not doing that, we rule by consensus. So I think there's been misunderstanding in the past in terms of the hierarchy and that it felt like, it was the president and the board and then the owners are subjects, which is the opposite of the way it actually is. So let's see. So we exist to fulfill the obligations that are in the deed restrictions. So when you bought your property, not only half of your property value is in the physical property itself, the other half is in what they call the bundle of rights. And the rights are to enjoy, to live, to sell, to dispose of as you see fit. And likewise, it comes with benefits and obligations, such as you get the benefit of maintenance of common ground, maintenance of the parking lots, etc. And likewise, it comes with the obligation that you have to pay your dues. You have to maintain your property, etc. So it's a given. It's a given take. And then who are the board? We are your neighbors, fellow owners. We are 100% resident volunteers. We are unpaid. We receive no benefit, no special treatment. Our vote counts as one vote, just like yours. We pay dues. We all have day jobs and families. I think only Dave is the only one that's full-time retired. And so we do what we do on evenings and weekends. And so that's kind of how it works. Why do we serve? Because these are things that need to be done. For me, and I know for some other folks, they had some issues they wanted to see improved or changed or something like that. So what do? You roll up your sleeves, you jump in, and you get on. And we're all here in the same boat. We're doing what helps protect and preserve our property values and maintains our quality of life. So let's see here. So just a quick run through on a couple of things that I've been working on as a tech nerd. We've been trying to get the office up to date. We've been largely operating through paper system, paper filing. So we're trying to get moved into digitizing everything, communicating electronically by website. And I didn't check this until just recently, but I was surprised to learn here that us switching from paper correspondence to email, that it's been wildly successful in fact, the fact that for every email we send out, about 70% are actually opened, and if there are links in it, about 30 to 40% click through the links. Typical homes associations, their open email rates are about 20 to 30%. The website might be hard to see there, but this is the traffic over the last year. We've had 5,200 visits, 15,000 page views. Let's see, the most popular pages are Gramercy Park News, the community calendar. Let's see, the help section and surveys. You guys love surveys. We love surveys. I love surveys because it helps us know, what's real important to you guys. A lot of times us on the board, we think we know what's best, but we're going off of what we think and what we see, which may not align with the majority of the community. So to me, surveys are very invaluable, and I'd love to see us do another comprehensive one, with 200 questions that goes top to bottom on everything. So goals for 2026. Our bylaws are still old. They are still, there are parts of them that were inconsistent with Kansas law. There are sections that need to be taken out to realign those with what's allowed, and also to incorporate electronic forms of communication, voting, Zoom meetings, etc. Likewise with our guidelines, rules, policies, and updates. Let's see, and we need to develop more internal policies. A lot of the processes we do have been done largely through institutional knowledge rather than a written policy of, okay, if this person doesn't fix their fence by X amount of time, what are the penalties? What are how do we deal with that after the fact?
Should we deal with that?
We'll address the questions later. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's so. Let's see here, I think this is where I've drawn it over to Bradbury. Yeah, we'll do a Q&A at the end. Oh, one last thing I was gonna mention, which I wanted to start a new tradition to, unfortunately, our guests of honor weren't able to make the meeting. Jana and James Herdington, are like our star residents, in my mind. They show up to pretty much every HOA. No other resident that does that, not even close. Chris was good. But James and Jane and you, they step up for committees, they step up to help. They've been managing the dog poop station, which is, from what they're telling me, literally a shitty job. And we're finally hiring it out. And they even lost their dog. Their dog died, and they continued to do it for the community. So I was gonna made up this little trophy I was gonna give them.
Oh, darn.
They're not here tonight, so we'll have to do them. So anyway, I'll turn it over to Mr. Bean.
How's everybody doing? Good?
Yep.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yes.
You said my name's Brad Reeves. I've been on the board for a year now. And I've been around since 2016, but working, I travel pretty much every week. So I retired and I started coming to board meetings, and you guys said, well, I really want to get involved. Here's what you ask for, we might get it. So here we are. I had a request I got an email from one of the residents about, well, we kind of need to do this isn't getting done, all kind of thing. I said, okay, we need that feedback. We need that in. So I'm eating that stuff up. Because it has been so rewarding to work in this community on the board and helping you all out as much as I can. I'm not getting everything done I want to get accomplished, but I'm trying to get the big chunk of it. And working with these folks on getting resolutions to the challenges that we have and helping you folks to get what you need. I mean, there's nothing more rewarding to me than doing that. So what I thought I would do is that, you know, when he said that, said this thing can be done, I said, oh, wait a minute. Maybe we ought to also focus on what we have accomplished. How many folks know what we've actually done this year? And so I thought I would take you on a journey of sight and sound. Well, maybe not so much sound. I didn't put music to my side like one. So
The one thing he's missing is the smells.
we won't do that to people, sure. So for this past year, we had a lot of opportunities. I'll just leave it that way. The first issue we have is our clubhouse remediation and repair and remodel. As you may or may not be aware of, we had quite the nasty sewer backup, and it was actually hazmat level mess. And so we had to bring a company in, come in and do the remediation for us. And so in this process, we actually had a lot of stuff in the basement that had to be hauled out. So we had to get that all out of the way before we could actually do the remodel. So this is just kind of an example of some of the stuff that we had. When they went through the remediation, they cut out a lot of stuff in other places. So like a lot of the base plates were rotted out from water damage, not necessarily even from the sewer backup. The ladies' restroom, if you ever been down a ladies' restroom, there's a door that went out the backside. We said, hey, we're going to remove that door. We really don't need that anymore since we don't have a shower anymore. Replace the women's restroom front door. It was pretty well shot. While we had all the sheetrock out of the way, we were going to inspect all the electrical, make sure we didn't have any issues there before we put everything back. As you can see, our exhaust fans were pretty well aged, so we replaced those. Right outside the women's restroom, we left the light switch outside because on the inside with that panel in there, there's no way to get a switch in there, so we kept that out on the outside wall. And then, of course, we replaced all the sheetrock and all the places where the sheetrock had been cut out. And in the entryway, this was all paneling, so we replaced the paneling with sheetrock. And of course, we primed and painted all the walls. And in the restrooms, we got new chair height stools, toilets, new vanities, and they have those big wall mirrors. Now we've got just hanging mirrors in front of those. So we took care of all that. And while we were at it, our hot water tank had a leak. So we said, well, let's go ahead and take care of that. Because as you can see, close quarters, a lot of stuff to get through to get that replaced. So he said, yeah, please go ahead and do that for us. So we got a new hot water tank. So here's the women's restroom, all nice and pretty and clean. And we also went ahead and left the partitions in the ladies' restroom. They're powder coated, so they'll be resistant to rust and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be a good thing. We did remove the partitions from the men's restroom, but they got a new vanity, toilet, and hanging mirror in there as well.
With that, we're trying to save some money, but not going to position the men's bathroom. We thought it was.
Right. And so the entryway, as you can see, the floor has not been done yet. We kind of ran out of dollars. So we need to keep in mind here, these were unexpected expenses. So it's kind of like, let's try to control this, but we do have money in the budget this year. Patty's got some work in trying to get that floor replaced. And of course, here's the big room in there with all painted and new rubber vinyl baseboard. So the bad news on this thing is all the unexpected costs that we had. Just under $12,000 for the restoration, a couple different junk removal prices. And so the total preparation just to do the remodeling was like $13,000. And the remodel itself was $25,380, and the bathroom partitions were another $1,000, which is probably money well worth it. It's going to last a while. So the total remodel was $26,380. So this was a total of $39,000 that we had not expected to spend, that we had to spend to fix this situation. So that's something we're going to talk more about that in the financial part. Well, then, to add to that, back in the file room, which wasn't part of this first remediation, we moved some boxes out of there, trying to get things reorganized, and we found this little mold nightmare. So we had to have them come in and do the remediation on that as well. As you can see, some of these joints are rotted. It's had some water issues for quite some time. So remove the insulation, the sheetrock. So right from that corner, that first set of between the wall studs, pretty good crack, more than likely a source of our water leak. So I go to the next segment, that crack still propagates there to the left, and then even on that third set between the studs. There's a repair already on a previous crack that looks like it's worked pretty well, so we should be able to handle that with a good patch repair from the outside. And this was, again, another $875 that was like, oops, we didn't plan on that either. Probably our biggest issue that's near and dear to everybody's hearts is our lighting. 32% of the work orders that we have are from our lighting. And as you know, we have a pretty old system now. I mean, some of these posts have been in the ground for 55 years. I don't know how many you know or not, but they were started as gas lamps. And then I don't know what year they switched over to electric. That's probably been maybe 40 years or so ago. And so there's my courtyard with the lamps out. And I had one of my good neighbors remind me, Brad, the lights are out.
That's me.
Karen, I heard that. So we had some folks come in, found an electrician that could do this work for us. And this was over in Acacia. And we had wire in these old boxes, you know, so and some of the wires going down the ground were still exposed. So I said, let's go ahead and we'll put in a nice clean installation for you, get those wires underneath the ground so the yard folks don't accidentally cut or damage anything. So they cleaned all that stuff up for us. Maple was the first one they took on, and just to troubleshoot where the problem is, because not just the light pole and the socket, it's the wiring underground as well. So as you can see, they had to pull up landscaping stones, pull all this wire up, and what they found, which was shocking to me, this is the wire, and the insulation had melted off. It was gone. So I had bare wire exposed, and then some of it burned through. So this is kind of stuff that's going on underground that you don't even know about until something doesn't work, and then ouch, here you go. And on the front wall, we had a slow short, which this junction box was full of mud. And of course, when it rains, it gets wet and it gets all, it'll short out. So they cleaned up that installation for us as well. Did an excellent job. So that was great. We thought we had our good electrical contractor come back and do this work for us. And then I'm not sure what happened. They kind of went radio silent on us. So I had to go try to find somebody else, but that's a story for another day. So lighting repair costs for the acacia, maple, birch courtyard, oak, and our new floodlights was $11,000. The new folks we found took care of our apple and peach light issues for just about a little over $700. So we have a lighting total of a little over $11,000. So this begs the question of, do I keep pouring in thousands of dollars every year to try to maintain something that's been in service for 50 years? Or do I go out and try to scope out or spec out some other lighting system? So here's where we're at. Mr. Brackey had these lighting maps for us, and these little circles are lights. And so we went and assigned a number to each one of these lights. And these little dotted lines is where the wires we think they go. And these little triangles, we went out and did a walk-down assessment. I think we did 2 different 4-hour segments. Of course, you have to do it at night. And so we kind of did an assessment on where they needed, did they need repair, they need replaced. So this will kind of give us a picture of what we're up against. So we went out and did all these reviews and logged this information by light number to see if it was operating, to see if the bulb needs replaced. At that time, we replaced bulbs if that was a problem. And what other kind of work was required? Was it leaning? Was it missing panes of glass? Did it need painting? Or should it be replaced? And some of the lights we kind of questioned, are they even needed with the other lighting around? And then do we need to repair? And then we put comments. So we went to every district and did that. This is the information for Apple, and then the next one is just for Cherry. So taking all this information, we assembled all the numbers, because I'm a ex-engineer number guy, so blame me. And to find out kind of what we had, we've got 156 lights out there to deal with. And about 28%, nearly 30% of those need some sort of repair. And about 25% of them at least need painting. So then we went ahead and listed out just to kind of get an idea of all specific lights that need this type of work. So you can kind of see the workload that's in front of us. So, what are we going to do moving forward? And that's something we'll be continuing to talk about. Because what we need to keep in mind, this was the latest in Apple Courtyard. We had a post that 3 wires were in here, and this charred wire just burned completely through. And then you can see how this is bent a little bit as well. I mean, these things have been in the ground for 55 years. And these lights that are leaning, are they leaning because they're loose, or are they leaning because they're bent? And that far right one's the one at Peach that fell off, it rusted completely through. So I went ahead and dug a new hole for that one. We had a new post in the garage, and then we used the existing hole, put a new post in here, and got those up and going again. This is an Apple Courtyard as well, and you can see most of that's eaten away too. So this is kind of what we're up against. So what Dave and I have been talking about and proposing is that we put together some sort of a replacement plan. And what this is going to include is to research what type of systems are available, because we don't know what types available coming available to us. Determine where the lighting is needed for safety concerns. Get estimates of total costs, because it's not going to be cheap to do. And then prioritize what areas are replaced. I mean, we kind of talked a little about our breezeways. They get dark, so we might want to attack those first. And then we may even have to develop a multi-year plan to implement replacements if we choose to go that route. But until we get numbers for this, we don't really know what direction to go yet. So that'll be the focus for this coming year, is to try to find this. Yes, they were calling me a sewer rat. We hit a bad string there late December, early January, number of sewer line issues. And this particular example here was in Peach. And so what they had to do, the plumbers have a detector that said, here's where your blockage is. So it happened to be in a private residence garage. So they have to cut all those pieces of concrete out. And your garage floors today's houses aren't this thick. This is a big chunk of concrete. The guy who cut them up, he got yelled at for making them too big because they were heavy. And then, so they got this open pit. Well, how do I dig down? It's 9 feet down to get to this sewer line. How do they do that? Do it by shovel would be tough. What they did, they bring in this big truck with like a spray wand, you do the car wash, and they will hydro excavate it. So they'll swish on all the mud, and this big hose sucks all that slurry out and puts it in that truck. And so they dig down and do it that way, as opposed to doing any kind of shoveling or anything like that. And until they find, like you can see here, where the fed sewer pipe. And this is why you do it this way, because this is what they had to dig through and chop through in order to get down. So this was the first time I'd seen it from where I used to work, but I never stuck with a project like this before. This was a lot deeper than anything I ever was exposed to. So trees have roots. They do something. They go down there and they find wherever nutrients they can. And the tree roots grow into the plant. And the root's too big to get through that small opening, so what do? They send out their little fiber feelers to get those nutrients, get that water, and they just thrive. They just love it, you know? And so what you end up with is this massive mess. So I've got a 6 or 8 inch pipe. Well, I'm going to auger that out. With a 2-inch auger, I'm going to poke a hole for a while, but you're going to see that's not going to last. So that's why we had to go in and actually take that out and replace it. So, because we were inundated with these sewer issues, I think I'm going to jinx it. Shouldn't say it. I'm not going to say it. We got inundated with these sewer issues, so we have to come up with some sort of game plan. How are we going to handle this moving in the future? So we revised the sewer policy. It's currently in review on how we're going to deal with this and who's responsible for what and all that good stuff. Provide the contact information to you folks. So if I have an issue, that'll all be in, and when this comes out, we'll get more detail on that. So if I have an issue, you know who to call right after that. And then I'm going to, if I have a townhome, I've got common sewer lines. That's a little more complex. So we'll get the HOA involved early, coordinate a resolution on that. If I have a duplex, it's just you and your neighbor there. You all can work directly with the plumbing company to get that taken care of. So that'll all be talked about in the new sewer policy. Then the other thing is we're being reactive. We want to be proactive. We want to get ahead of this. So what preventive maintenance tactics can we use to keep these lines clean? So that's something else we're going to try to make some recommendations. We also have storm drain issues. And this was over in Pine. And there was always a river, and it always cooled up into a lake. So we called it Lake Pine. And that was, it was irritating. So I said, well, okay, well, let's take a look at it. So I dug down in there, expect to see a bunch of sticks and leaves and all that kind of stuff. No, I found this. This was compost. It's full of earthworms. So they were loving this. This was good stuff. So I dug all that out of there, and that's what was in the inlet. So there's no water going to get through there. And then, so that's what, after we cleaned it out, that's what it's supposed to look like. And Mr. Jordan brought out his trash can. We filled it up 3 times, dumped it in there.
150 gallons.
And went down to the end, expecting to see this rush of water come out, and it trickled. I said, well, that's not good sign. So I had a little fiber camera. I poked in there to kind of look. I said, that doesn't look good. So we called A1 out, and they had a high pressure jetter get them shove that stuff out the pipe. That's the good part. The bad part is Brad did not know how much stuff was in there and how long it had been in. Because what happened, this is just plain mess. And we scooped up almost a half of a 13-gallon trash can full of that stuff.
As soon as it started coming out, I ran and got my trash can and my snow shovel.
And so we tried to scoop it up. Lesson learned here. Brad, I was trying to take a lesson from whatever I do. Lesson learned here. Because I had no idea this much stuff would be in there. Next time, if we ever do anything like this, we will put a retainer barrier there and capture this stuff. So it doesn't go down the driveway or down the rest of the parking lot, stink up our residence area, which was nasty. I admit it. So we're going to learn from that moving forward. So that's the stuff that was in there. God knows how many years that stuff had been in. Fountains. So you don't shoot the messenger. I'm very disappointed in this, but we are going to do better. So this year, their challenge was our electrical. So we had our new electrician we found that seems to be real reasonable, and they work on fountains quite a bit. So they were comfortable with doing this. So we had this old conduit in there, which not needed. They took that out, and this electrical box, I'm not sure what happened to this thing, but that was a disaster. So that had to be replaced. And also on the brick wall back there, we've got these GFIs, and some of those weren't working. They fixed that for us as well. So we got that work done. On the cherry fountain, we need to get that steward up back up to the outside. That box had to be replaced. And again, the looks like power cord for the pump had been cut or whatever, but got that box replaced. And on Birch, or poor Birch, when I lose my foundation, I'm not going to last long. So we crumbled away. And so Mr. Dave found some brick folks. They had to come in and rebuild that. And they did. They did a fantastic job. And the brick is pretty close to what was there. So that was awesome. So our repair costs, electrical for the main and cherry, is under $700. Other outfit that David found, they charge some ridiculous number for the electrical and get the bus up or fountains up and running. They're like $2,000 for the electrical. So what are you guys doing? Didn't understand that. So we got that fixed. So all our electrical issues are ready to go. And of course, the Birch rebuild was $4,100. So just under $4,800 for the top to be repaired. So fountain action plan. So we don't have an issue like we did this year. The apple fountain did work, and please don't blame it just because that's my courtyard. That's the only reason I did that. It still had its pump connected to electric power, so I just cleaned the fountain out, put the pump in there, and filled it up, and it ran from July to shut it off here at the end of September. So moving forward, I found an outfit that takes care of fountains, and a lot of HOA, as a matter of fact. They said we could pressure wash it, 2-part epoxy paint in the main and Birch fountain in the base to get that sealed up. And that seal should last for 10 years. So we're not having to do this every other year. And then the joint work on the brick needs to be done on apple and cherry fountains, and then apply a sealer on top of the pavers. And they said that should last about 5 years. So that's a pretty good life on that as well. Then we got to decide on the best sealant to be used for the cherry fountain because a lot of that brick's starting to crack and flake off. So we're still going to be trying to decide out what we want to do with that. And Brad's goal, please hold him accountable, is going to be have this done by May. We're going to try to do it this fall, but it got too late in the year. But I got to get a full scope of work, get the board's approval before we do it. But at least we can get the game plan on the shelf ready to go after the first of the year, and then have that up and going by the end of the night. That's our goal there. Trees. Our second most popular item. 20% of our work orders were our tree. And a lot of it was, well, I got this tree out here, I've got these hangers, and how come I can't get them done? Well, the problem was we kind of busted our budget. So we said, okay, let's wait till the new fiscal budget's in place in October, and we're going to put 20,000 in it instead of 12.5 because we know we have all this work to do. Plus, I've got winter coming, with who knows what kind of ice storms you're gonna have, spring's coming, what kind of storms you're gonna have there. So I think it was mentioned earlier, Mr. Chris has this tree service, amazing trees, what they're called. And these guys do it the old fashioned way. We just cut this down in redbud, old river birch tree. There's no bucket trucks. There's no big claw to put debris in the back of a truck. They climb up these things like telephone poles. It was an amazing sight to see, and they had this thing taken down in no time. So thank God we found these folks, and some of the residents, just so you know, in Acacia had hired them to take some trees out of their back patio too. So that's only their payment, but the bad news is we're a little over half our budget already spent, so we need to be careful on how we go moving forward. One big project was our Oak Street replacement, and that cost, this is phase one, and that was about an $8,200 or $82,000 bill on that. And each, if you notice up here, this was really in bad shape, and so we said, well, let's do that, and then down by the curb. And so they had, while they were out there doing Oak, they went ahead and did each, at about $4,600 for that. Clubhouse landscaping. I mean, this ought to be our focal point. This place ought to be looking great. And it was looking a little rough. And Mr. David, again, this volunteer activity, came in and put all this rock down, and this is not easy work. But man, it looks so much better than it did. So that was awesome job on that. Which kind of gets me to my sales pitch about creating volunteers to help on some of this beautification. This here is a picture of a fitness facility, which I'm on the board in Northeast Kansas. The volunteers put all this stuff in around this water. And I thought, you know, why can't we do something like that here? We could provide the flowers, supplies, just like out by the main fountain. If we could put some pretty flowers or something out there, inside the courtyards, if we have pots or something, we could put flowers there. And we could maintain that ourselves and save some dollars. This would be great because this model kind of came from church I'm at. That's what they do. They got committees that they mow the grass, they plant the flower, they do all that stuff. I'm not advocating we mow the yards here, but they have committees that do this type of stuff and really makes it look good. So just something to think of. So the other, one last thing that we did was property walkdowns earlier this year. So we did a little different this year because we identified and documented and sent out to the homeowner not only the sheets of what we found, but also pictures, which I really love. So I read this sheet and say, what are you really talking about? Now I got pictures to go with it. It's great stuff. And don't take it personal if you got one of these, because most of us did. And this is what Brad got, and he hasn't fixed his yet either. So what my game plan is, I'm not even sure this is salvageable. So I'm looking at an outfit to come in and maybe replace this and maybe fix some of this kind of stuff. But I'm going to get with my neighbors in that row of townhomes and say, hey, you want to kind of, because all of them look kind of like this. Can we bring an outfit in, either in our row or if other folks want to get involved, come out and do this job, we might get it for a better price. So I'm in the process of trying to figure that out. I got to get this fixed or they're going to kick my ass off the board. So I got to get on the ball.
Chris has a guy for that.
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say, I don't know if we can find us someone.
So I'm trying to get next week.
on these lockdowns, for those who got it and got your work done, go ahead and contact the office once that work's complete. Because if we don't have a notification, a second notice will be going out to inquire about, hey, what's your game plan? So on when you need to complete the work, you might be waiting on another project, or whatever the case may be. It's kind of awesome.
Quick note on that. We've extended the deadline from October to November 30th.
So I just wanted to thank everybody that all the folks here that I've got to work with and volunteered to help support the community and make it a better, more beautiful place. And we're going to try to continue to build on that so we can continue to make this place look better. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, I will, yeah, questions there at the end, so I will turn it over to Ms. Carter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, information. Okay, so mine isn't full of pictures and things like that. Mine is full of charts because we're gonna talk about money. Okay, so I'm doing the financial overview, and how many people came to the annual meeting last year? Okay, so you remember the MICE people, they were here, the CPA, they came and they talked to us about the audit, well, they didn't call it not a report. They talked to us about our money and funding, and I'm not going to read every single one of these because you guys can look at them. Basically, what they did is when they did their reporting, they were looking at our bank, our payments, our invoicing, all of our financial stuff, and they were checking that. And they came up with 15 key findings, which are over there. And then based on that, they made 12 recommendations for improvement. So on this, where you see the highlighted yellow, those are things that are started, that are not finished. Where you see the green, those are things that have already been implemented and put in their place. Okay. And so it's just basically getting some dual controls, different things to do with contracting, things like that. So, and then we were just trying to get some things taken care of with financials. And then the other thing that we looked at doing with funding and stuff like that, because you can see with the pricing and the emergencies that we had, it gets tough to find the funds to do some of this stuff. So a couple of the things that we did, and again, I'm not going to read it, every single bullet, but it was we found a couple of areas where we could eliminate redundant expenses in the operation. That was kind of paying for the same thing, making sure that we were getting our approvals and not spending money that we didn't need to. We also did a lot more going out, working with different contractors and finding 2 to 4 contractors and getting competitive bidding, and we were able to get some better pricing that way. And then the other thing that we've been doing is engaging with the city of Overland Park and different people working on maintenance and getting some ideas there for development. Okay, then, so these are just a few of the improvements. It's we got improved treasure visibility. We added some security alerts. We added dual controls. And I've also talked to the bank about how, like when the board turns over, because we know some of this would roll on and roll off. So I put in some stuff that when one treasurer rolls off and another one comes on, the process and procedure for that's going to be able to happen, so that any individual cannot go in and do it independently on their own. Then the other thing that we're working with, and this came up with a conversation with the audit, and then actually the bank called me after something that had happened to another nonprofit and said, what do you want to do about this? And so she recommended, and then we've got to go over our insurance policy and make sure we're covered for cyber attack and cyber security. So those are some things that we are doing to tighten down things with the financials. So our account balances, this screenshot here shows where we were at the end of fiscal year 2025. So we have 4 accounts, the emergency and the reserve, and those have to stay funded, and we retain 50,000 in them, and it's for our emergencies or things like that. It says up there a short description. Then we've got a couple of CDs that we have some money in, and they're in the CDs because you get higher interest rates instead of the little 1% or something. We're making like 4%, so that'll help us out. And then we have our capital improvement fund, which is for our major infrastructure. And that was sitting at about, what was it, 183 end of last year, 187, something like that. So right now it's sitting at 274. And then we have our business checking, and that's where we do our day-to-day. We're paying the electric bill, we're paying the mowers, we're paying the tree service. That's where we're paying for the pool people and all of that kind of stuff. So that was where we were at the end of fiscal year 2025. So that's looking pretty good. Then this is a different view. These are all of the levels. The top is the income that's coming in, and the bottom are our high level categories. So you have your emergency expenses, you have your admin, you're running the clubhouse, just all of the different areas that we have, right? So everything that is in green, there was a save. And everything that is red were our overages, okay? And the red, those are mostly related to the remediation that Brad talked about. And then the peach sewers, that came out of emergency. And then you'll notice the one right here in the common grounds, there was a save of 35,000, and that dang near covered our emergency expenses. So the good news on that is that we still have our emergency account that has 50,000 in it instead of having to take that out. So we were able to retain that. At the bottom, the one thing to note, you'll see down here how much we're under budget. One of the things that impacted that is the Oak Street project. It got delayed by the contractor. It was supposed to start more towards the end of the summer, but it got delayed because of their schedule. So what ended up happening is we did not get the invoice or the bill for that in fiscal year 2025. So that's going to hit in 2026 now. Okay. So that's a high level overview of that. Then the next thing, we did is we work on the 2026 budget. So on this slide, you've got fiscal year 2025 and then fiscal year 2026. The one thing that will show out is in the red down here is both times it's like we're going to exceed because of the capital projects that need to be done. So that money will come out in capital improvements to cover that. But I laid them side by side so we could compare the different areas. So probably some people are asking what's in the capital improvement. So these are the projects that were listed. We gather all the information from the board about what are our priorities, what needs the urgent attention, that kind of stuff. And this is the estimated cost because we haven't gone out and got contractors yet. So we're estimating based on what we do know and just some conversations with them. And then the other one says cost per household. I just did that so that we could, to show that if we didn't have the funding and we needed the 78,000, what would that impact be to an individual resident, taking the total amount of the project divided by 197, and that would be the impact. So for fiscal year 2026, there's 24 active projects planned, but we have a reserve study that was done back in 2021 or 2021. And that reserve study lists over 110 projects that they are recommending for our community, our common grounds, our areas. And of course, they have to be evaluated and prioritized, and those 110 spans over from 2022 to 2035. So now and into the future, what we've been looking at. So just kind of some things to think about there on the capital projects. For an example of like the lighting, that is going to be a major deal. That's probably going to be a few $100,000 depending on what solution that you come up with. So those are just some slides to think about what's going on and the importance of planning for not only now, but what's next into the future. So this is a graph of our business checking account. And it's looking pretty good. It's going up and up and up and up and up. And you're going, okay, we're doing really well here, right? So one of the things that happened in February, there's a spike. The green is the deposits and the balances. That spike went up because we had the emergencies with the peach sewers and stuff. So money came out of the capital improvement fund to go into business checking to cover that. So that's why that spike is there. And then what happened is we had a discussion on the board too. We go, well, should we take some of that money because this business account is growing pretty much, and should we put it back into the capital fund? In the summertime, we said, no, we're not going to do that because we got some bills to pay. We know we're going to have $80,000 for the street. We know we're going to have our swimming pool contract that we got to pay for. So we left it there. Well, what ended up happening is we did pay for the pool stuff, but it didn't hit. We paid for the whole summer in September. And then the street project got delayed. So that's why that spike was there. So at the end of fiscal year 2025, we moved 90,000 back into capital improvement. So, I mean, you're hearing this and it's like, okay, that's good. You know, it's like we got our emergencies expense covered by what we managed to save by the contractors that were selected in competitive bidding. But here's a different look at this, okay? So the top amount is what we have in there now, including what we transferred. We paid for the street repairs, and this estimate, I think it's a little bit high in that category, maybe $10,000 or something. But if all that's paid for out of capital, and then our swimming pool, and most of our fiscal year is our swimming pool stuff that we need done. And that's going to be quite a bit of money. That brings that capital improvement fund way down, right? So then we have all of these future planning that we have to do. And so the question becomes, okay, what's next? Because we know there's going to be more capital improvements to do. We know there's future projects. We know that there's things to repair. So, of course, one of the things that we did and the board has voted on is we did vote on an increase of 5% in dues. Notices will go out at the end of November. The monthly dues will go from 200 to 210. And that'll go into effect on January 1st. The goal being to replenish our capital improvements so that we have the dollars that we need to cover future projects. The problem with doing it this way, and this is something that I want everybody to think about, because we're going to be going out and we're going to be doing a survey and we're going to be asking for input on how to do this. But so again, the goal is to build that up. But when you're building up at $10 a month for 197 homes, that's about $1,900 a month that you would be putting towards capital improvements, which is $23,000 a year. It's like, it's not going to get like the lighting. So I guess the ask is, think about the financials, think about capital improvement, think about where we're at. And then, because raising dues is not popular, nobody likes that. Costs are increasing. There's a lot of projects on the table. So, you know, it's like, is it time to consider one-time assessments? Is it time to do fundraisers? Is it, you know, what are the options out there? What should we be thinking about? So we will be putting that information out to the community and surveying. And I know one of the things that came back as feedback in the last one is like, well, you guys are taking all these surveys. What are you doing with this information? Well, we're using the information to make decisions, and we're seeing kind of where the community is at on things. And so the information does get used, and we do poll to see where everybody's at on things. So that'll be coming out, and this is to help for going into the future. And then the other big thing that comes up is everybody always talks about, I want to retain my home value. We want to retain our property value and all that stuff. So with that, I'm going to move from finances, and then I'm going to let Chris talk about the real estate and homeowners associations, because that's his field of expertise.
So,
So right here.
Right.
right, yeah, there we go. Okay. A lot of this is taking care of your property and then kind of sharing responsibilities. So we're just kind of with our walkthrough, we try to inform people kind of maybe some conditions they didn't know how their home was. And so we're trying to push regular maintenance. Taking care of your homes and surrounding areas improves our community and kind of improves the environment. Yeah, neighbors that work together, they benefit greatly from this. It's kind of a pretty understand, you know, if one neighbor starts a project for the trees, then some other neighbors actually start doing more tree trimming. It kind of gets a ripple effect with that. Positives of this is a better sense of unity and pride inside the community. While this is common sense stuff, but we're working on trying to encourage people to take the next step to better our area and to hopefully improve our grounds. With this, we get a safer, cleaner, more attractive community. Generally get better curb appeal, and generally it helps maintain and or increase values, which is what the market's been doing. Kind of financial benefits, I just kind of shared that there. Current in the last year, for 2 to 3 bedroom homes in our zip code, the average overall was $323,778 for homes that have sold with a average square footage of 1,616 square feet. If you break that down into single family homes, it goes down to 348,000. Again, right around 1,600 square feet. If you do townhomes and duplexes, again, only in 66212, it's around 270,000. Again, around 1,600 square feet. But in Gramercy, we're at $269,244, but with 1,845 square feet. So we generally get more bang for your buck and amenities in Gramercy, which is a draw to our community. A lot of the homes that are out there in this size only have 1 bathroom, while we generally have 1/2 and or more, which is great. A draw to Gramercy. We have a lot of benefits with that. So our price per square foot is lower because we have more square feet. So we have more home for the dollars we spend, which makes it a better draw to buyers. Yeah, Gramercy with that is a thriving community. The affordability is wonderful, again, for price per square foot. It really helps out. The accessibility, everyone knows, being around town is super easy and super convenient. The neighborhood charm is a huge thing, and I know people like the lights, and we have the trees, we have the fountains, which are all great, which we're trying to maintain, but as we have to kind of figure out that balance of cost, and so try and work with all of this, but that also makes us, stand out from other communities. Again, kind of going back to space and feature comforts, if I can talk, with the number of bathrooms, square footages, and then garage spaces. A lot of homes don't have as much with that at this document. The lower maintenance is very helpful. Of course, you still have to maintain some of your own property, but with the grounds being cared for by the HOA, that is a wonderful thing. If you could do your own garden and do stuff like that, that helps out also, but we're working on that. The trees are always helpful, but they're also a maintenance thing, which we're budgeting more for and trying to improve upon that. So, but by maintaining our homes and our shared spaces, we preserve the beauty of our community and also the value, which is what we're aiming for. So going back to the ripple effect, kind of when one person starts, it gets others kind of more eager to want to follow. So I know myself, I'm calling a painter to hopefully come out next week to try and get stuff bid, which I'll probably be talking to other neighbors. I know before we've done some roofing on our garages where I needed to do my mansard, but then I talked to all my other neighbors, which was some extra legwork, but then we did the entire mansard on the garage as one. So it wasn't the overlapping, didn't have that visual effect of people just doing it one at a time. It's a little more legwork, takes a little more time, much better finished product. So if you can do a little more work and talk to your neighbors, say hello, engage each other, it's generally helpful. And what's what we're shooting for. We're trying to build a community, and with that, also hopefully better our financial situation and just the general engagement between each other. So I know we've talked about some maybe events and stuff like that. We're still trying to talk about and discuss, but that's things we have at least on our chart. But right now we're kind of going through initially getting our structure set up for taking care of the main things and then going from there. But yeah. So with that, kind of getting Gramercy itself, by doing these things, we protect, our investments, the properties themselves. We uplift our surrounding communities, and then we ensure Gramercy remains one of the most desirable homes or areas in our community. So, yeah. I'm short and sweet. I guess.
Well, okay.
No problem.
So this is just it's already been mentioned several times. It's just about being engaged, volunteer. This slide, I'm not going to read all the bullets, but these are different things that people have volunteered to do in between maintenance and things like that. So it is nice to have folks that are getting involved and helping out. So one of the other things that we did was a pre-annual meeting survey went out. The number one question that was asked the most was related to financial and budget, followed by property maintenance and standards, and then the amenities, and then rule enforcement. So we did some questions and answers. I don't know if you guys want me to go through this or you just want to read it, and then we can get to your questions. We can make this available.
Well, maybe if some of them questions might.
Okay. So one of them is, why didn't the fountains run this summer? And that was answered with Brad's presentation, about the electrical and brickwork that needed to be done. By the time those were done, we're late in the year. There's still some repairs to do. Touch the screen. Why are there so many courtyard lighting problems? I think that got explained in his. And then the question was asked, do we have a snow contractor? And yes, we do. They just got voted on, and then the contractor is going to be Perfect Turf. See what there's.
Is that the same people that are doing the lawns now?
Yeah.
Switch do a better job with this room.
Okay, then another one was, and this is a big one because this is going to be coming up. The question was asked, how is trash service going to be managed when they're working on the east property line? Because everybody who is on the east property line will not be able to use that driveway out there. So we had a conversation with the person who's coordinating this with the city of Overland Park. And it will be the responsibility of the person who's doing the work to make arrangements for picking up the trash. In one of their last projects, that meant that the contractor went to your door and got your trash and picked it up and took it out for trash service. So they will do that. I don't know for sure what it's going to look like, but they said that they will make sure that we have arrangements for everybody who lives in East Acacia and Birch to make sure they have those services. Said, why weren't there any hospitality events this year? We're looking for a hospitality event coordinator. So if somebody likes to do that hospitality stuff, we're looking for a committee member on that. And then the question was asked about why did we change annual meeting locations? And it was just technology and room setup. So those are some of the stuff that was already asked. All right, questions?
And then I'll speak to some of the, so there's some questions about the property maintenance. So they did the walkthrough, we did an automated push of all of the write-ups along with photographs, which was great. So improvement. However, we're still working on the follow-up piece, and I know there had been, and this was my fault, there had been some replies back to the email that those were sent from, which was compliance at Gramercy Park something. And those had not been answered. And that was a mistake on my part. Those will be followed up on. We've extended the deadline for the maintenance repairs to November 30th. I think we still need to discuss next steps in terms of what enforcement is going to look like. Part of it, I've always made the argument that a lot of these property maintenance violations are things that are city violations. So in my mind, it's more practical and cost savings for us not to have to deal with the enforcement if we can have the city do it for us. Just it's less work for us. We're already paying tax dollars for them to do their job. But we also have the right and the powers to fine. We also have easement rights and the authority to, if a person is given fair warning and doesn't maintain or fix their issue, we could take them to court, or we could do it for them and put an assessment on their property, which at prior HOAs I've been on, it's a regrettable thing to do, but sometimes it has to be done. We had a resident, our rule was no outbuildings, and a gentleman built a garage in his backyard, and we went back and forth with the attorney for about 6 months, and finally had it torn down for 10 grand. So it's not, like I said, it's not something we want to do or like to do, but the declarations is something we must do. We're legally obligated.
I would rather work with you.
Yeah. So a lot of times it looks like we're bad guy, but we're doing what the law tells us to do, and what your other everybody else, the other 196 of us, expect us to do. Yeah. So
With that question.
Questions?
One at a time.
Yeah.
Just a couple things though first.
could you start with your first name and last name? I would want to get it on.
Carrie Haller, Overland Park.
Okay.
With the maintenance text for the tracking of all the requests, is there any way that we can get some sort of acknowledgement of, hey, we received this, hey, the lighting's really bad in your neighborhood, it needs to be repaired or replaced, get some sort of update, because we have put in request after request with no answers. And I had one of the hanging bush or trees, branches in June. And I called Shelly at the office, and she told me I had to put a maintenance ticket in. And so I put a maintenance ticket in, and then I get an email from a board member saying that's a huge safety violation. Like, that is super dangerous. We're gonna get it taken care of right away. And July, you guys had the company come out and start trimming trees. My house was not included in it. I contacted the board in August, being like, hey, this is like really dangerous. It's hanging over me and my neighbor's fences. Like if it falls, it's a lot of money that I don't have to spend on something that's not my issue. No response. September, reached out again. I asked Shelly to have somebody on the board just contact me because I don't know about budget. I don't know that we don't have the money left. I don't know any answers. All I'm getting is, Jeff, you're on the list. We'll get to you guys when we get to you. As I'm sitting here hoping that the tree doesn't fall on me, the fence, anything like that. I talked to my neighbor. She contacted the board with, again, no response. So with me, I just want to be informed. Like if we don't have money in the budget for tree repair, tell me that. If we can't get the lighting fixed in my neighborhood, I'm a single woman. I live by myself. I live in a corner. The lights around my house don't work. I have a puppy. I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to take the dog out. There's cats roaming everywhere. There's possums. My dog loves to chase squirrels. I can't see the problems. I'm going to break something at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I have nobody to help me. So I just want to know that my voice is being heard. So when I'm putting these maintenance tickets in, a simple, but yes, we have received this. We are working on it. Hey, your thing doesn't work. Okay, then I can put a snappy light in the top of it, so I can control that situation. That's been my frustration this year. Is I have not been heard, and I just get pushback, and I don't like confrontation. I can only do so much. So just if you guys can, if you need somebody, I'll be happy to write back on a maintenance ticket. You have been, you've been heard. Just some sort of acknowledgement that something's happening would be really nice. It's all
That, yeah, that's probably on me. Because I'm the one that gets all these requests in and try to set up the work orders. And I have not done as good as I need to do. I get behind, so I get involved in all this other stuff. I need to prioritize. This is a system I brought into the Gramercy Park, so it's my fault. It's my
Help with
responsibility.
it?
Huh?
Do you need help with it?
No,
You know,
I need to do what I need. I need to do what I'm supposed to be doing.
I used to work with the work order
I
system.
need to be
Just
responsible.
really-
And I did too. That's why I like it. Yeah.
So, this is our first year for trying that system. We are not using it as it is intended. That's gonna be after the first year, we are going to start because we're so focused on getting work done. No work should occur until a work order is issued. But sometimes we say, well, hurry up, get out here, and I'm going back in and write work orders for work that's already done. That's not how the system's supposed to be working. So if you put in multiple requests, and if that request gets turned into a work order, there should be a notification back that a work order is created.
Well, that tree ended up falling. The branch ended up falling.
Okay.
And then the next day, the lawn company comes and is cutting all the trees down,
Okay.
like just a couple weeks ago. So
Right.
I never got a work order. And that's the thing, is it's like, just even when you put in a thing, there should be an automatic thing like, hey, we're working on it. We'll get back to you as soon as the work order. Like just some sort of acknowledgement.
Well,
I have to be a reply. Just some sort of like,
I have done that on some others, actually got back with them on email and let them know on stuff. I'm not real consistent on that. Again, I gotta get better on that. If a work order is already out there and another request is put in, if you decline the request, you'll get feedback if you put your email address in. And it'll say that this work order has already been generated to cover that. And so we had a list, work order 183, remember it well, a list of about 10 different trees that needed to be addressed. It was on hold. And then we had 3 other work orders that was supposed to be done. So Carla went through all that list with the folks and made a tree just last week. Yeah, when they did all that cutting. Did they get yours taken care of last winter? Okay.
Yeah, I was telling them, I go, oh, I know where her house is at.
Were they just work orders, those guys that came in from trees last week?
You know, they were doing what Carla told them to do, and Carla was telling them what to do based off the work order that has been established.
We had to have a first board, yeah,
That's the way we need to be doing things.
no, but the guys that were here a week ago, 2 weeks ago,
So,
they were only responding to work. orders.
no, they were sorry.
Go ahead.
No, they were responding to more. So what I did is I did get the list that was in the system. And I think I think when we went around, we missed two. But we also did a walkthrough with them, and it's like, okay, we don't have an order on this, but this one's hanging up. We don't have an
So
order on
just
this.
like
So
little.
we would,
is what
yeah,
you-
we did a walkthrough and looked at the work orders. And then we ended up having, when they saw us out there working, then we got all kinds of phone calls coming in.
All kinds of. Well, I was just curious, cause.
Yeah,
I've been
so,
here 8 years
so
and
our
I've been
scope of work
once.
changed, our scope of work changed real quick. And we spent a little bit more money, but we got as many of them as we could
That's
find.
what you need.
Yeah, and then just went on a walk today and I found another branch that was dropped in, Apple, I think it was. And it's like,
Well, they used to come and get the ones that were hanging over the house. They did it once, 10 hours.
so on the last one, they took, there was one hanging, actually the branches were touching on the garage, and then there was another one where it's touching on the house. They got those, and then there was a duplex that had some dead branches, but, we did add, so.
So as far as the work order system goes, it's an education thing. So I'm gonna be putting some videos together on how that worked. And I've talked with Arbor before, but if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So I'm gonna put together some videos on how we need to interact with the system, how the work request process works. And I will have to do better on getting back to people. Like,
All right. And part of that also ties into, some of the stuff on my site, on the website, there are help forms there that you can submit, information that are separate from Maintenance. Maintenance handles one part, this part handles request Shelley. So it's unfortunate we don't have, one system that handles all of them.
Where do I find next? I don't even know where to get that.
It's on the website.
it's on the website.
So
It's not the website for the help thing then. Those are two separate.
they're on the same page, basically. One's to submit a work order.
Nikki, you and I got some time together coming up, so
I desperately need help and I'm like others, just on my little road, there's like 4 old ladies that don't know how to do some of the computer stuff. The one lady can't even operate her phone. She has to come down and ask me. Now that's good, right?
And that's it. We prefer you put a request in along with pictures. Because what happens if you don't put a very complete description there, like one time they had one on, oh, the lights don't work. I said, okay, well, I went through the look, said, the lights are working. That's the lights that we've been having trouble with. They were talking about the other set of lights. Well, now, by the time that happened, the electricians that were working with us down on radio silent, so we had to get some other folks in. And FYI, the breaker's stripping in on the north over post light, so I just created
I
work
just
order
didn't
tonight
have
to
two
get them.
separate help
take care of
things, and I'm not really sure how to get any of them,
So
and
if
half
you-
the time I can't get into the website.
If you can't get to it, then our fallback position is called Shelley. She's good about putting stuff in the system and then it's free to work.
I just like computers.
Understand?
Back here.
Ron Wilson, I live in Urban, fortunately.
Yep. Fine.
When I get financial assessment fatigue, we go from the same truck. And I've been involved in this since the 70s. We blame the board and we do get, we want to get a professional thing, and I wouldn't put up a penny for anything, but at some point in time, you have to rip the Band-Aid off and see that we can't get done everything that needs to be done without an assessment, without a big rate. I still think we get a good deal of what we pay, but due to inflation, there's not enough money in the budget to do what needs to be done in this place and bring it up to 2025 standard. It's 50 some years old, like you said. And so the board needs to rip off, but you're gonna get jerked no matter what you do. You can't please everybody.
Pretty bad time.
You need to rip the bandage off, you need to assess or quit following that.
No, I totally understand, and it's a catch-22. My personal opinion, we're not doing as well as we can financially. We haven't been for a long time. And it's my personal opinion, but I base this on the fact that I've lived in 2 other homes associations. This is the first of which is self-managed. And what I see here is very problematic, very wasteful.
Possibly doing your bylaw for it.
What's that?
The assessment of the bylaw rate for in 50 years.
Right, and it would, all it would take, and to do any sort of use change or whatever, would take a vote of the residents. No other HOA I know, am aware of does the board get you automatically raised by 5%. That's not allowed anywhere else. All other HOAs, the board has to prove every single increase. And
I
so,
don't want an increase, don't get me wrong.
right,
But
neither
you
do
don't
I.
see how
Right.
it's gonna get done what you need to be done.
Right, to me,
You don't need to something every.
it's about efficiency.
Yeah, so in the financial slides, that's why we showed hey, here's where our capital is at. This is gonna cost this. It's gonna knock it down. We know we have more work to do. So that's why we want to hear from more people. What do you think is? Oh, it's never popular. Nobody
Special
wants that.
assessment of, member voting thing, or is that just you guys do it?
No, everything
It's,
anything, we have the latitude to do 5% every year, so we have been every year, like I said. Personally, I don't think we should have that power. I think the board should have to prove every single extra dollar that they get. That's the way every other HOA does it. Any dollar you have to approve, the members have to vote. But yeah, anything beyond 5% takes a member vote. And I think we have resident fatigue in terms of you're hitting me 5% anyway, and make do with that. Why are you hitting us off more,
It's
They
not, it's
voting
not
on
enough
that
to,
tonight?
it's not no, we're not voting on that tonight. It's not enough to cover something as huge as replacing a lighting system though. That's,
So like there's the capital improvements, but then there's like just maintaining the grounds.
right.
So we got 2 different items here. So we have a huge improvement or just maintenance. And so right now, the HOA in my mind would be just maintaining the grounds, riding the pool, caring for things like that way. But if we have a large project, lighting, pool repairs, clubhouse if we do streets,
Streets.
these things are not regular, and so then we have to figure out how we're gonna fund that, whether it's a higher monthly due and we save up, or you do an assessment, we prove it by having it bid out, and things like that, to try and get to where we have the neighborhood in a condition that is more modern and kind of where we're at for what we're wanting. But it's that balance of, you do a higher HOA and try and pay for future repairs, or do you do assessments and try to pay for the repairs needed right now?
Has anybody done some calculation to see what kind of number you're talking about?
Let's let Dave speak to that. Yes.
Yeah, sorry to bring up what 2 ways we can look at the finances here. We've got a budget broken into the 2 areas: operating budget.
Microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I can notice.
Yeah.
Or wait, is it on?
All right. Got our budget basically split up into 2 areas: an operating budget, which is basically the things that we use to keep the
Right.
place running: trash, salary, lighting, all that kind of stuff, electricity, and so on. We
Mike
actually,
close.
I don't think it. I really got it. I don't have to say that. That The operating budget we're proposing for this year is actually lower than what we had last year. So we've done a very good job in terms of keeping us financially open, just keeping the doors of the place open and doing that work. What's causing the problem is these large ticket items. Street work, $70,000-$80,000 a pop. Lighting, we're still trying to get a handle on that. We've got a little capital fund each year, but 70 or 80,000. But that gets chewed up with a lot of small items. A lot of it done. It's tough to save up. We did have that reserve study done about 4 years ago. They recommended roughly a nominal $20 dues increase at that time to start saving things up for these foreseeable type of things. Anything from fence repair to tile on pools to streets and everything. That got roundly voted down. And boy, it's really not pushed it since. So we basically on those big ticket items, we handle it by deferring. We've now reached the point where we've got several streets backed up that need to get done. New stuff is hit big time this year.
We've got to replace the pool fences all the way around too.
Well, a little big new regulations come in, you have to increase the pool fencing height. Things happen. And it's those little things that are not in the operating fund that we got to deal with. And it becomes a question of what do we want to do? How much do we want to do? If we're doing a serious work on the lighting, yeah, there's a lot of those that can be pulled out. We did our walkthrough. I think we could probably pull out through those lights as being unneeded. The street lights are in.
Dave, you can go on all night, you're not gonna get there by raising dues 5%.
That's right.
That's the bottom
Or
So-
that would have covered the operating expenses very nicely. Yeah, especially when it had 5-8% inflation a couple of years back. Right now that is kind of, we may not even need the 5% this year because our operating budget was down. But that's the only way we could get anything for capital work. So we're exploring some options. The numbers are not excessive. Like I said, the reserve people were recommending like $20. That was 4 or 5 years ago. So we can get that stuff done. But it's these little special items are the ones that we're working that are causing the grief. The normal stuff to keep the doors open, we're in good shape. So,
But yeah, and we could still have unexpected, expenses. That's one thing that concerns me is the other HOAs I've been in have 75% to 100% years worth of operating expenses saved. If we had a major weather event where we had, 20 trees taken out or something like that, we could be put in a position where we're instantly having to borrow money.
actually, we've got 10,000 in emergency fund in the operating fund, and we got a $50,000 emergency fund separate. So we've got a good backup if something happens to hit.
And the sewer things too, like Brad showed, that became a rash just this last year. Like we had 3 different sets of townhomes where, it's like, oh my God, these sewers are going to go bad on us everywhere, and we got to think about that.
Do you recommend them? I don't know if this would cover this job, but I'm just wondering when we get a thing in the mail, like to get some kind of insurance.
We're highly suggesting full read through all the underwriting of those. In many cases, coverages aren't provided for townhomes,
Okay.
especially on shared line. Yeah, no, if it would, I would absolutely push it. We're trying to think through every scenario we can.
Yeah.
That's why with the sewer committee, we're trying to get a practice in place that people are more efficient. We had challenges because one owner would call and another owner would call a different company, and things are being doubly done, but then nothing's being performed actually. And so we're trying to get a procedure put in place that it's cheaper for residents, it's more effective, and we can get things correctly repaired quickly. So that's what we're trying to get that
the bottom line on that is don't pay for the insurance through Johnson County. You won't be covered.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Have you a number that you're considering for this special assessment?
No.
Ballpark.
Not at this time. So it'd be on the project we'd be doing. We'd want to have a bid out, so a value.
So you're gonna do special assessments on each project?
No, nothing like that. It's all planned currently. Right now,
What
what
are
we're
you
trying,
planning on
trying to-
getting from us currently?
we're trying to put out there to have people brainstorm for how we'll be able to fund these things, because there are some large projects coming up. So it's trying to help people.
Well, I know several of us
We're not-
where I live had to pay a big hunk for our sewer repair.
Yeah. And so we're trying to get feedback.
Out of
Trying-
like that,
Yeah.
you get a new listing.
We're of different minds on how to approach this stuff. So we're putting the information out to you, and it's a group consideration deal on, what are our priorities? How do we approach it?
And how do you prioritize the major funding? In my opinion, it's gotta be linear. There's a lot of single people that around here. Safety's gotta be the biggest concern, and then I can deal with my street defense.
The one we have this year is the swimming pool because of the safety around that, and then the lighting was next. And but we've got to figure out what that looks like.
Just to be clear, for 2026, that's being covered by what's currently in the capital improvement fund. The next year is when we're going to have to start doing something different. So if your concern is like what's going to hit me this year, that's not going to be an issue. It's going to be the next year that we got to evaluate.
And well, okay, the listing might be held up for you.
I told them to ask this year, but they didn't want to ask, so we're gonna.
Yes.
I was ready to ask, but
Yeah.
nobody likes
likes
me to
me.
pay for the sewer, so I think I'm finagled out.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the board. They really do give a lot of their time.
Yes.
And I don't think any of us really appreciate all the time that you all put in. And I, for one, I really applaud you. How many rentals do we have? And is there ever anything in place about the rentals? Last count was, what was it in the rental survey? Like 30? Yeah. Yes, I know.
15%.
Yeah, in my area, there's a couple of them that just don't do anything. And it's one poor lady that lives there, her backyard, if there was a fire, I don't think she could get out her back door because it's so overgrown back there. On the corner? Yeah, one, but that.
It all comes down to all properties are treated equally. It comes down to, they have the same rights as we do, same obligations as we do. We can enforce property, maintenance standards, but we cannot treat them differently because they're a renter or they're a tenant. It's illegal.
You have to address the owner.
Right.
So do the owners get these notices and like the pictures that you sent out for the?
Yeah.
So like the walkthroughs, that would be the biggest thing, but that's accountability for all owners on trying to maintain the grounds. But a property owner, myself, I am one of them. And it would be, I get informed now, again, I'm put actually on a tighter strict like code because the city, I pay for a 2-year rental agreement permit with them every 2 years after I renew that. And I have to abide by what they say the conditions have to be. So the city can hold me to a stricter requirement on the condition of my property they can owners.
Do they
so
inspect that
they do come out, yep.
inside?
That's
Is that for every landlord?
every landlord's like, and we've gone through trying to make sure that people have permits because at one point in time, I think I was the only one that had the permit. To be honest,
You're still the only one.
to be honest, no, we started reporting them and trying to see to get them to pay. So the city, one, makes money. Also, those landlords are held more accountable. And so I'm all for that. I want them to be recognition.
It's a safety
I
and
don't want-
security thing.
Yeah, and I want their bad properties to go bad on my properties,
Right.
you know?
And yeah, if a renter burns down their place, they're out of a place to live, but the
Yeah.
whole row could.
Well, for safety, yeah, so I mean, that's where all of our insurances, when Gramercy Park going to is different than Gramercy Park needs to be an interest on all of our insurances. In case there's an issue that's actually required, in the bylaws, I believe, somewhere in there. So that is one thing that, again, we're trying to enforce that too, so that if there's ever an issue, knock on wood, hopefully there never is, but everyone's insurances are lined up properly so that Gramercy can be a part of the rebuild. And people won't say, oh, I got my money, I'm out. And then there's like no money to found a profits in the center, you know. There's lots of aspects, but yes, conditions. We're trying to be better about enforcing the walkthrough and the repairs needed by everybody, which should be great. Again, we're trying to work with everyone, but also we're trying to lean into a little bit to make it go to action, you know, actually do stuff.
Right.
Because in the past there hasn't been a follow up. And so we're trying to, as much as we're doing all these other things, we're trying to do these things. We're working towards.
Does anybody follow up after the 30, 60 days? Does somebody walk through again and check up on them?
That's our plan.
We're on,
That's
on the calendar, but yeah,
Volunteer, and I
sure.
if it was a fun night walking through.
I can walk.
And you do raise a good point. Now that we're doing things digitally, you know, it reminded me, I once we do this next round, I'd like to run the stats and see of all the write-ups, what's the percentage between rentals and regulars?
Yeah. Well, also we took the photos this year so that we have a record for next year.
Right.
So again, we're building files
Right.
to try to support the action and data. So we're working. It's not immediate.
I think that for was two things. One was a wall at good time Charlie issues down there by lower. That's been taken care of this guy. And then the other one, I have some wood rot on, and I want to fix that, but I don't want to do it until I paint the house for everyone. You know, duplex won't paint his house.
Yeah.
So do I go ahead and paint mine in the sick of the Johnson County beige color? What I do about that?
You have a line down.
On colors, we'd have to talk to the sales.
So here's the old rock, you're getting mad.
Okay.
I'll fix something.
Elsie, you've had your hand up for a while. Yeah, well, mine were very minor issues. One, we talked about replacing the wall around the pool. Is there something wrong with the brick wall? I know there has to be another added height. I go to visit a friend, Lisa, and I drive down State Line Road, the 150 highway, and almost all the brick walls you see there have wrought iron on top of it. And that seems to me like a cheaper way to go than replacing the whole.
Johnson County says they have to be 5 feet,
Right,
so we have 5 years to figure out how to make it taller.
yeah,
So,
not by adding to it.
yeah, I really don't want to take the brick wall down because it's gorgeous, so we've had it.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
We just said,
And there you go.
trying to be cost efficient.
Really hard.
So we're trying to install it.
And then dig a moat around the outside of the wall.
See, and that's, that very thing there is another example of, we have to plan for the future. We know we have to be in line within 5 years. So
We
how do
should,
we
yeah,
pay
we
for
should
it?
say.
Johnson County took over all the pools in Johnson County,
Yeah.
and they're a lot stricter. You have to
It's a
have step
safety code.
things,
It's a
plus,
safety code.
yeah,
That part, yeah.
death
It's
markers
not
and stuff.
arbitrary.
It's like,
Whatever.
yeah. Find out.
So there's improvements the county requires on the pool, which we're planning on to like some more cost on our budget, but we're just trying to figure out all these aspects and how can we get that combined with other work along with the maintenance. And right now there's just some large repairs on the calendar. So
Yeah, I get that. It's just a little concerned now.
yeah,
My
Yeah.
other thing was, a picture showed Brad about the part of your house that's about this size.
Yes.
Painted.
The gable.
I have that. And the guy 2 doors down is in the window business, and his looks like his needs it too. I said, so when you have yours done, will you have mine done? Well, he doesn't ever do anything. He's supposed to do so. So if you all get somebody to come out and say, well, that'd be great. Years ago, for 3 years in a row, I would get a notice that I need to have the north side of my house painted. And my place faces east and west. I don't have to do it, so, you know, I never responded to that. One day, years later, I walked around the courtyard the opposite way, and I thought, oh my God, I got this little piece of wood out here. The faces go. Wow,
I think it would be
I'm not
nice.
done yet, but if you all get a painter that to do those little things, I'm in.
Well, I think it would be nice if we're having like tree trimmers or something like that, gutter cleaners. We could add a thing on the news, either the Facebook or our website, that they're gonna be in the area. Here's their phone number. If you would like to have stuff done in your house, contact them.
Good.
That's give us the discount rate for the whole, but
That'd be the hope. I plan to talk to one of my painters next week a bit for similar aspects. Can't say I'm gonna get everyone at once, but I'm gonna try and talk to him and show them the opportunity for our community, that they could get a lot of little business, but potentially knock on multiple doors, or if I put the information out, get multiple repairs at once, and hopefully get something going with that. I can't promise them, but I'm gonna try and talk to them more next week. So just trying to make it work, you know. I know
What's the color? What's the true color? Cause I like the white, but there's a particular white. 40-50 bear.
Is there?
on properties, on duplex.
Can have a duplex.
They have to match.
So it's 40-50 bear.
Years ago, they have to match both sides of
Okay, so one side they're willing.
them. Something. But when to be plus.
Yeah, one side they're willing, I'm getting in trouble.
Well, that's what I figure out as a board member.
You need more people. Where did she give that regular?
Yes.
So like you can
Bylaw.
that little area for like landscaping.
You can't.
But because I do like, okay, like a
Conversation.
like a somebody submits like, hey, I have this, I'm unable to do it, I broke my leg, or, you know, whatever the case may be, could we have them where like people submit like, this is what needs to be done, is anybody able to help me?
Yeah.
And then you put it out in an email to everybody on board, and you never know, maybe there's a painter that lives 3 doors down from you and you don't know them, because I mean, I walk the neighborhood every single day with my dog, and most of these people I've never seen. So it's just one of those things. It's like, if we have a way to be able to meet people, it might actually help that, like, hey, you know, you need your railings painted, arm's length, you're just too short. If you put out a request, then maybe your neighbors, and you can have like a big volunteer thing that, like, you know, I'll help you with yours if you help me with mine. And it's going to save everybody money. So in theory, you might be more willing, people might be more willing to up the dues, and they're not spending thousands of dollars getting some down some ways. So.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, I know there's a Facebook page, and I think there's like a classifieds, or there's like a posting for something like that on the website. So there's 2 aspects that way. Yeah.
but it's asking for folks to volunteer, so it's going for 2.
Like, you don't know, you know what I mean? There's no way to, I don't. If you want to have a way to like communicate with everybody and be like, hey, if anybody needs help with planting flowers in their garden, like, that's one of my big passions, I would be happy to. Like,
There you go, there's your volunteer.
like more than, you know what I mean? So it's changed since then, we can kind of get some people together, you know, maybe, you know, that are disabled or stuff like that, and you want us to find people that can help. No.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. Trying to figure out how we can get it going. Right.
About that, and she organized the cleanup of the whole grounds 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and just had of us go around and just picked up trash, cleaned out.
We need a volunteer coordinator.
It's just so nasty. It's hard to know. Yeah.
They have one casual enforcement. I know what I'm telling you.
We have any more questions following tonight?
Yeah, it's nice. Can I say one thing? Sure. Just kind of for everybody before y'all go home. Last 2 mornings at about 5:20, 5:30, There's been 2 adult coyotes going through behind my garage where I have my camera, so little dogs, if you're walking in the dark, I'd be cautious. Is that what it is? Well, they're prancing through peach the last couple of months.
And there's a Buddhist place there, and some mama family has their babies every year. But we're hoping that the project is gonna happen.
Choose them off. Well, Dave was saying that, or I'm just saying it because little small nest, so so that's all.
You know, thanks, everybody.
Hey, so regarding the coyote, right on here, animal control,
They won't move on.
they won't?
Okay. So you gotta call critter control if you want to get them out of your house.
All right, thank you all for coming. We will adjourn 9:30.